Thank you for that. Appreciate it. There we go. All right. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, introduction to Stack. I'm just going to skip this first bit here. So what is Stack? It's a development tool, build tool, hopes to make lives easier for developers. It has a number of aims. User-friendliness, make it as easy as possible to set things up, keep things isolated, and we'll get into all of these, have predictable behavior, be well set up for working on projects rather than individual packages, and be as efficient as possible. So a little bit of the history. Earlier this year, FP Complete did a survey of current and potential Haskell users. And we learned a lot of things, but one of the really big takeaways was that the current build tooling was a significant factor holding up adoption. 2/3 of the respondents considered that to be a crucial or important factor. So we'd already been working on internal tools that we used for our own projects. We thought, well, let's take this, let's make it better, and let's release it. We also, over time, FP Complete had released a number of little stackage-related tools. We thought, let's just stick those all in there too. And then, make it all as user-friendly as we can, because it's not just for internal use anymore. So, user-friendliness. We try and make the most common things that you need to do be very easy. The idea is that it does the right thing by default, so most of the time you're not going to be surprised by what it does or come across a surprising behavior. We want the command line to be as intuitive as possible, make it easy to figure out how to do new things. So here, you clone a project that has something in it, you run stack test, it's going to run the test. You don't have to worry about what else it's done. You don't have to worry about it interfering with something else. It just works, and your tests run. You can get more advanced. This tells it that you want all warnings to be errors, that you also want haddocks to get built. Run the tests. When the tests have done, say, yay, it succeeded, and keep doing that in a loop. So every time you edit a file, it's just going to redo that. And then you can also, if you want all your packages or all your modules available on GHCI, you can do that, among many other things. We make setup as easy as possible. So we provide binaries for most common platforms, Windows, Mac OS, many variants of Linux right now. It works around a bunch of various annoying little issues that seem to come up when you're developing in Windows, and we work around as many of those as we can, as much as we can. You just run stack setup. It's going to go grab GHC if it needs it, install it. It's going to put it in a private location, so it's not going to overwrite your current GHC or anything weird like that. You don't need to worry about that. And then also, if you're building a package and that package needs Alex or Happy or CPPHS, it'll just pull them down, build them, and they'll be available. You don't need to do it ahead of time. If one of the packages a dependent package can't be found, it'll just go and update the index. Maybe it's been released since the last time you did an update. The index is stored in Git, so it's just a quick Git pull, done. And I'll mention it. If GHC is already in your path, it'll use it. Whoops. But only if it's the right version of GHC already. So it's very specific about you having to use the right version of GHC to build a project. It's isolated, so I've already covered most of this. When it's not going to interfere with what's there now. Any packages that it installs, they're going in a private sandbox implicitly. It's not gonna mess with what you've already got. You can mix it in Cabal install just fine. It's not going to be a problem. They're just going to be separate. And different projects you're working on also aren't going to be. So if you have multiple projects you're using with Stack, they're not going to mess with each other either. Every project has an implicit sort of isolation. Yes?
So does that mean for every project that I'm going to warn them downloading a quick check in its own sandbox?
No, and I'll get to that. Yeah. A big part of the philosophy behind Stack is that builds should be reproducible, meaning if you have the same source code, the same checkout of a repository, and you build it, you're going to get the same result. It's not going to depend on what's already on the system. Now, of course, we don't control the operating system. There's only so much we can do there. Although we actually do have support for implicitly using Docker images, so that actually you can control that, and that's used by some clients to great effect. Although it's Linux only for now, unfortunately. It uses stackage for stackage snapshots for dependency resolution by default. I'm going to get to a little more on stackage on the next slide in case you're not familiar with it. Yeah, the fact that for a given commit you're going to get the same result is great for teams, because especially when there are teams that are all sort of very much working on the same project, like in a commercial type of setting. It means people aren't like, why isn't this building? Because I have this different version of some package. And it does all this just out of the box. That's its default behavior. So for those of you who aren't familiar with stackage, this is another thing that FP Complete has spearheaded. It's sort of a semi-curated set of packages. So by semi-curated, I mean that mostly there aren't strict requirements for inclusion. Basically, if your package doesn't prevent the rest of stackage from building and its tests pass, great, happy to take it. As much as possible, this is automated, but sometimes a human needs to intervene. Like if a new version of a package has been released that breaks everything, well, for a little while we're going to say, okay, use an older version for a while. But if it takes too long for that to get fixed, eventually we might drop it. Right now there's 1,400 packages roughly in stackage. So each snapshot is tied to a specific GHC version. So if you're using a particular snapshot, you're using a specific GHC version, so you know what's going to happen. And stackage isn't limited to Stack. You can use it with Cabal install. You can just download a cabal.config off the website, and that works too. There are two flavors of stackage snapshots. There are nightly snapshots, so every night we take as much as possible all the latest versions of the stackage packages from Hackage, build them all, test them all. If all that passes, a new snapshot is created, which then anyone can use. And then there are what we call long-term support snapshots. Now, if you're thinking, Ubuntu long-term support, it's not quite there yet. Roughly every 3 to 5 months right now, we take what's in nightly currently. We say, okay, we're cutting an LTS release. After that, every week we make another snapshot that only takes minor version updates of packages. Meaning, if your package builds, if you use it, you can upgrade to a new one. You can be almost guaranteed that it builds unless someone is breaking the PVP. Yeah, and at the moment there's no overlap between LTS releases. Over time, as this gets used more, the plan is to make those LTS releases last a bit longer and to have some overlap between them, so that you're not like suddenly cut off. Of course, you can always keep using an old snapshot for as long as you want. No one's forcing you to upgrade. Snapshots stick around forever. Yes.
In both categories, is there a kind of curated list, these 50 or 1,000 packages, and if in the nightly thing, one of them fails, they just don't do the nightly snapshot at all? Is that right?
Basically, yeah.
Same with the LTS thing.
That's right.
Don't release a new snapshot every week if one of the packages breaks.
That's right.
And you go talk to do you have a feedback mechanism to authors to say, we're not really
It's pretty much manual. It's mostly file a Git issue, and if that doesn't get handled quickly, then try and escalate by whatever means you can. Yeah.
Okay, but in principle, one package author can be simply no snapshots produced.
What'll happen is usually if there's a new package release and that's a problem, we just manually intervene and we say, okay, for a while, let's just stick with the old version. Okay. So it won't one person can't hold it up forever. We'll just manually intervene. Okay, Stack is project-based. So a project is a list of packages. Those could be local, which would be the more usual case, but you can also just specify a URL of a Git repository, and it'll just pull it down, make it part of it. A resolver. Now, the resolver is basically where you say how you want to find dependencies. So you can choose an LTS snapshot, a nightly snapshot, and you specify the particular identifier of that snapshot. You can say GHC, which means by default, all you get is what comes with GHC. You can specify a custom snapshot. So if, in your organization or team, you have very specific needs, that's also possible, and it'll just pull that off any. Oh, yes.
So given an LTS, how do I know which GHC it is?
So basically, you go to stackage.org and it'll tell you, and it'll also pull it down automatically. So when you use it, if you don't have the right version already, it'll be like, well, sorry, you don't have it. Run stack setup to get it.
What is like LTS 3 GHC 10 and LTS 2?
Is GHC 784? Yeah, that's right. Now, of course, you don't want to be stuck with only your curated set of packages. That would be really annoying. So you can also override if you want a different version of a package or a package that's not part of Stackage, no problem. You just put the specific version of that in your project configuration. And the reason for specific versions is that reproducibility. With a given configuration file, you will get, your build will work. You can also toss in extra cabal flags if packages need specific flags or specific GHC options. If you do that for a package that's in Stackage, well, I'll skip that. So here's an example project configuration. So this is the one for Y. This is using the LTS 2.17 snapshot. These are all the packages that are in the Y Git repository. So it's a mega repo. And then here's a few extra dependencies that it needs to build that are not in that particular Stackage snapshot. Stack is efficient. So if your source hasn't changed, it's not going to rerun GHC --make and wait to relink things, which if you're doing multiple projects can often be kind of frustrating otherwise. To answer your question, when different projects share a snapshot, it's going to share the package database. And we're working on some improvements for that now too. The database won't merely be a particular Stackage snapshot, but it will actually share packages between snapshots as well. That's not there yet, but we're getting started on that. And it caches time-consuming steps along the way as well. So usually if there's nothing that needs to be done, when you run stack build, it'll pretty quickly do nothing, like rather than taking a long time to do nothing. There are a few extra features. Well, it has lots of features. I can't mention them all. If you have an existing package already that has a cabal file, just run stack in it. It'll look at it. It'll try and pick a good. That's the second one. Stack new will look for the dependencies. It'll try and pick an appropriate snapshot. It'll help you add the extra dependencies you need. Stack init will create a new package, and you can select a template. So, you want a YSOD project, you can do that. Various different kind of templates exist. Anyone can add them. Michael Sloan recently added GHC.js support to it, which I think Lloyd already mentioned earlier. I love this one because I come from a sysadmin background, and we do a lot of bash script. Well, I've done a lot of bash scripting, and I hate it. You can use it as shell interpreter, and so I just have to show this off. So cat script.hs. Does that. Runs. I forgot to erase my package database first, so you didn't get to see it install. So you can choose extra packages that it has to install. This also tells it if GHC isn't already there, just go ahead and install it. So basically you can toss this on a new machine and run it. It'll take a little while the very first time, of course, but that's it. Stack IDE, we're working on editor integration. It's a work in progress, but there's some people on the team using it as their daily driver. You can visualize the dependency tree. There's an example for why. That just creates an input to GraphViz, then you just load it into GraphViz, that's what you get. I'll get a little into how it's implemented. So underneath it all, it does use the Cabal library. And aside from one particular feature, it doesn't use Cabal install, so it doesn't shell out to Cabal install, it just uses the Cabal library directly. And that means each package still has a Cabal file, you can still upload it to package, no problems there. Custom setup.hs is still supported. Dependencies are pulled from a package mirror. Snapshots are just a YAML file that's pulled from a Git repository. There's a 3-tiered package database strategy. So basically there's the global package database, which is what comes with GHC normally. It'll use the packages that are there, but it won't ever put anything there. There's the snapshot database, which is specific to a particular snapshot. It'll read it, and it'll only write packages that are part of that snapshot there. And then there's local, so anything local or an extra dependency gets put in the local database. And that's going to change a little once we can share packages between snapshots. There's some things we just decided Stack shouldn't be, and so it's not. It's not a package manager, so it's not going to install anything to your operating system. There's no uninstall functionality. There are sometimes you do want to have an executable that you don't have to wrap around in something, so you want it sitting in your path. So you can just run stack install Cabal or whatever tool you want. Happy, it'll stick it on your path for you. But it's not like a real install. And it's not a full replacement for Cabal install. There are lots of things Cabal install can do that Stack cannot. The idea is to make the most common things really, really easy, but not try and do everything. Some things to come. There's lots of issues in the issue tracker for new features. Some of the things we're working on right now is getting GHC.js set up to be really easy, just as easy as GHC. Right now it's supported, but it won't install it for you. I already mentioned a couple of these. Being able to actually do things a little better with executables, so that if something has data files, it could go into, you can specify where those should go. Editor integration always needs improvement. Making the custom snapshots better. Supporting custom GHC binaries, so if you want integer simple, you can just get that. And then, the stuff you always are doing, bug fixes, optimization, better documentation. So Stack is a project of the Commercial Haskell Special Interest Group. Anyone's welcome to join it if they're interested in using Haskell commercially. It's about 40 companies, 100 individuals right now. The project is spearheaded by FP Complete. We are very happy to take pull requests, issues. We're very liberal about granting push access, so we love contributions. Basically, if there's a feature you want, we're probably going to be pretty happy to let you implement it. And it's still beta. We're using it in production, but there are definitely bugs. So file issues, make pull requests for anything you want, help with documentation, all that stuff is great. And that's where you get it. Questions? So we're very specific that, say you change the flags or the GHC options, we're not going to put that in the shared package database. That sort of promotes the package to be like an extra dependency, meaning it goes in the local database. So packages in the snapshot database will always have been built with the same GHC options and the same flags. So. Correct. Yes.
So is there any way to help resolving conflicts and bring out packages when it's like different?
So normally using Stackage, that's not an issue because many packages are in Stackage. But when they're not, there's some help for you. It will make suggestions. So it'll look and say, okay, I couldn't do this, but here are some suggestions. So it tries to help. It's much less of an issue because so many packages are part of Stackers that you usually don't need a lot of extra dependencies.
It makes sense to have something like exclude some sensitive dependencies. Let's try this.
At the moment, let's see. I'm actually not quite sure what it does with transitive dependencies for an extra dependency. I don't know if it'll pull them in or not. I think you have to specify the exact version right now. Yeah, so you have to specify a commit, a specific commit. You can cheat it if you want. If you want to break it, you know, it'll let you. But yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, there's definitely some, for people using Nix, you know, a lot of this stuff is less amazing. We can't make, the trick is you can't make everyone use Nix, so yeah. But yeah, there's definitely some similarities there. Yeah.
Well, the Docker integration is fantastic. Is anyone interested in, I don't know, some kind of degree of Nix integration? For example, you could give a Nix expression instead of Docker image name for the OS.
Yeah, there is definitely interest in Nix integration. It's one of those things, probably FP Complete isn't going to be working on it, but you know, we would love to see that happen. Did you have a question? Yeah.
I know there's been some work on like adding signature support inside of Stack.
Right.
Internally inside of
Yeah.
Has there been any thought into how that integrates into something like the tough framework here? Because I know it's like author signed packages, which was of course bugaboo number one in Duncan's talk.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's also the thing that was delayed until phase 2 in Duncan's talk as well. So
Right. This is not a part of the project I know a whole lot about, so I can't speak. I know Chris Dunn, I think, is working on the author-signed packages. We use a different implementation of Tough in Stack at the moment, so it does actually do check signatures and things like that from the server, but it uses Git and GPG instead, so it's a bit of a different approach. Anyone else?